With a single fragment of himself, Krishna pervades and supports his entire universe. A single fragment refers to Lord Vishnu. Vishnostu त्रीणि रूपाणि पुरुषाख्यानि अथो विदु एकं तु महतः सृष्टे द्वितीयं तु अंडसंस्थितं तृतीयं sarvabhutastam tani gyato vimuchyate. Satwata Tantra describes that Lord Vishnu enters in three forms. First, he enters into Mahatattva, and secondly, he enters into each universe, and then he enters and sits in the heart of every embodied being. That is what Krishna is referring to here. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Okay, then look at this. This is towards the end of the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is telling Arjuna that he is, just after he showed the universal form, he spoke about the glory of this universal form. Maya prasannena tavarjunedam rupam param darshitamatma yoga tejomayam vishwamanantamadyam yanme twadanyena nadrishtapurvam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, happily unto you, O Arjuna, this form which is transcendental uh, and which is full of effulgence and which is the entire universe, which is unlimited, which is original, that has been shown by my internal potency unto you, O Arjuna. I have happily shown this to you. And other than and of this form, and this form, besides you, no one has previously seen it. This form of mine. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. And notice next he says, na veda yagya dhyayanayna danair na chakriyabhir na tapobhir ugrai evam rupa shakyam aham nriloke drashtum twadanyena kuru pravira. Not never by sacrifice, never by Vedic study, not by authorized charity, never by pious activities, or even by severe penances can I be seen in this form in this material world. Okay, notice this, in the human world, in this material world, by anyone other than you, O best among the Kuru warriors, O best of the Kuru warriors. No one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world. Okay, then what happens? Then he says, all right, Arjuna had just said, oh, what is this terrible form? Now please show me your form. He had indicated that. And so Krishna is saying, all right, you've been frightened. Now I'll show you my uh, other form, my original form. And then he displayed his Swakam Rupam, his original form, Swakam Rupam, four-handed form. Vasudeva showed his four-handed form, his own form. Now, we should not think that because he says it's his own form or is its real form, this is the original Narayana form is the original form. Because in Dwaraka, as we know from the Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes Krishna manifests his four-armed form and sometimes he manifests his two-armed forms. Both of them are real because Krishna in his original form, he manifests different forms, different number of hands as he requires. So this is not really the Narayana form. This is the Chaturbhuja, four-armed Krishna form. And Arjuna is related to this Krishna, this original personality of Godhead of Dwaraka. So at last he showed his two-armed form. Then Arjuna says, oh, having seen this human-like form, so very beautiful, Saumya, notice this word Saumya. Saumya means very beautiful. Even in the previous text, Krishna had showed his Saumya Vapu, beautiful form. He showed his two-arm form, which was very, very beautiful. And we notice that Arjuna says that he is very composed in his mind and restored to his original nature. And then Notice this text. He says, Sudurdarsham idam rupam drishtavanasi yan mama deva api asya rupasya nityam darshana kankshinaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, this form, as you have seen, this is very difficult to be seen. This form of mine which you have seen is very difficult to see. This particular form, this form, two-armed form. The demigods, they are also eternally aspiring to see this form. The demigods are always seeking an opportunity. We learned this from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam when Krishna was about to be born. That this form is very, very rare to be seen. Sudur Darsham. It is very, very difficult. And even the demigods, they are waiting to see because they cannot see. This form is very difficult even for the demigods to see. So even the devas, for them, this form is very, very rare. Whereas if you look earlier on in text 47, Krishna, when he was speaking about the universal form, he said that this form, no one other than you had seen this form um, in the human world, in the material world, referring to the world of the humans. See, I cannot, in this form, um, other than you, I have never been seen in this material world. Niriloke, Niriloke. In the, Niri means human. So, the universal form cannot be seen even by demigods, but the Lord's original two-handed form, this cannot be seen even by the demigods, and they're eternally aspiring to see. Notice this. They're eternally aspiring to see this form. And not just that, this form cannot be seen by study of the Vedas, by serious penances, or by charities, or by official worship. It cannot be seen the way you are seeing me. The way you are seeing me, uh, this form cannot be seen. So this is clear evidence that the original form cannot be seen uh, even by those who are qualified to see the universal form. And here he explains what you need to be in order to see in Krishna in his original Krishna form. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya. That it is possible for you to see me if you have devotional service which is not mixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge, which is exclusive bhakti, ananya bhakti. Then you can know me, you can see me, and in fact you can enter into my planet. You can be with me. This is also clarified later on. uh, I'll give one final piece of evidence from chapter 18. If you look at Bhagavad Gita, if you look at chapter 18, let us go towards the end, uh, when Krishna says that uh, he is going to describe knowledge, various levels of knowledge. Notice we will start from where? We will start from here, 18.50. Right now I'll simply read the English because the Sanskrit is not right now relevant. I'll show the relevant verses a little later. 1850. O son of Kunti, learn from me. This is a summary of the entire teachings of Bhagavad Gita from 18.50 up to 18.66. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Being purified, actually it's not 18.50, it is a little before. It is a little before. It is here. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. It is better to engage in one's own occupation even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. One who is self controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain, by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. So now he's going to describe how you can attain Brahman. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred. One who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self realization. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So, this describes how one can attain that Brahman, the Brahmajyoti, the kingdom of God is resting on Brahmajyoti. So, how one can attain Brahmajyoti? So, this is about Brahman. Now, notice the next series of verses, which Krishna will refer to a little later. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my direction reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Under illusion, you are not declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna. Notice this is the Paramatma expansion of Krishna. And is directing, is a Narayana form, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. O scion of Bharata, O scion of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme eternal abode. This is worth looking into further detail. Tam eva sharanam graccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsisi shashvatam. Surrender unto him. There's an emphasis on him. This eva certainly is an emphasis. It's like underlining. Surrender unto him in all respects, O son of Bharata, by his grace. Notice this, tat prasadat. By his grace, tat prasadat. By his grace, you will get eternal transcendental peace, that abode of eternal transcendental peace. O sign of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. And then, this is what he has to say. Iti te jnanamakhyatam guhyad guhyataram maya vimrishya etat asheshena yatha ichhasi tatha kuru. Thus, unto you I have described knowledge which is still more confidential than confidential knowledge. The idea is what he had just now said earlier. This is more confidential knowledge. And prior to this, when he had spoken about Brahman, that is confidential knowledge. The vast amount of students who study the Vedas, they do not know about Brahman, attaining Brahman. So therefore, that is confidential. And this is even more confidential. This is about Narayana, that by his grace you attain his abode. Maya, by me, this has been stated. Deliberating on this fully, do as you like. Thus, I've explained to you knowledge still more confidential than what was confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do.